So over the last 4 years that I've had my channel, I've had the pleasure of moving many people and families from other states, other countries, all here to Michigan, and more specifically, Metro Detroit. And I wouldn't be me if I told you that every single person that moved here loved it, and that every person I come across absolutely enjoyed their experience while they're living here, or that every person that moved here enjoyed their experience here more than their home state or town. I also come across people that moved here from other places that I didn't move here, that seek me out to be able to sell their home to move to other states or move back home, saying that they wish they found my videos earlier because I give them the real perspective about Detroit and Metro Detroit, so they could have made a more fact-based opinion about moving here. I don't believe in trying to convince you to make a move or do anything just for my own purposes. Like, whether you're gonna love it or hate it, that's just gonna be up to you. Everything's an individual decision. I'm just here to present the facts and make you most educated about your decision based on if you're gonna move here or not. And this is why I put this video together, giving you a few reasons why you might not survive when living here in Detroit. If you stay to the end, it'll be probably my most important one, and one that people really don't consider when they're moving here, and then get a surprising shock a little bit later. All right, so starting off, number one on the list is something that won't shock many people because it's the first thing I get asked every time I'm talking to somebody about moving here, and it's the weather. Now, I wouldn't be myself if I didn't tell you the truth. It can get super cold here, and the winters can last extremely long. I mean, even this past winter, right? We thought we had a mild winter, and then it just ramped up on us, and it got real cold, and it got a lot of snow, more so than we've had in many years, and they took us like a throwback to what we used to have here all the time, right? Hope that trend doesn't continue, but you know, that's a part of what comes with it. It can last from anywhere from November or late October all the way through April, just kind of like this year. I mean, even right now that I'm sitting recording this in May, it's still a little chilly outside, like, which is crazy. But hopefully we ramp up, we get a bunch of these summer days because we definitely need them. And then beyond that, what comes with these colder days are gonna be the cloudiness. So a little bit of lack of sunlight, which is something that a lot of people can't really deal with, especially if you come from warmer climates or very sunny climates, and it has an effect on your emotions, your mental health, anxiety, that type of thing. Seasonal depression is real. But on the flip side of that, I mean, it's definitely a great place if you want to experience something a little bit different, right? The 4 seasons, you got to think about that. I mean, I don't think I would rather be in another place other than Michigan in the fall and that middle of summer. Like, it's one of the most enjoyable places to be around just because we enjoy the sunlight in the summer way more than many places. Like, I've lived in Phoenix and Las Vegas and Utah, and where, you know, you get sunlight and you get the seasons in a milder form all year round. And so you don't really appreciate it when you have those sunny days as much as you do in a place like this. So if you're for it and you can deal with the weather and you want to enjoy those 4 seasons, those changes in the leaves, and be able to go up north and have a completely different season than we may have down here in the South, then you might be able to survive Detroit. Also, I can't forget that, I mean, the weather is unpredictable here. You can start off in the morning with shorts on, and then by the afternoon, you're running home because you need a coat because it swung that much, or vice versa. You know, start off with a coat on, and then at the end of the day, you're in shorts. It's kind of crazy. You never know. Like, I don't know what the weather people here really get paid for. Thinking about relocating to Detroit or Metro Detroit? Well, I got just the thing for you. My team and I have taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide. This is meant to save you hours and hours of research that we had to do to put this thing together. And I've linked it down below. From the best employers to the top hospitals and a boatload of other things that you will need to know before you move here, I've linked it all down below. The best part is this guide is 100% free. It's my gift to you. Yes, 100% free. I said gift. Now, go ahead and click on down below. It'll be in the description or it'll be pinned to the top comment. So go ahead and click that, and I hope it helps. All right, moving on. Number 2. I would say the kind of urban sprawl or like the neighborhood diversity here. So if you're coming from a city or a state where pretty much everything's the same, a newer one where, hey, everybody looks like you, or all the houses were built around the same time period, they're all about the same, then this could be a big shock for you, especially a cultural one too, because in a 20-minute drive, you can go from a place like Grosse Pointe which has, lakefront mansions, very spread apart houses and, yards, to a place like Hamtramck, which is smack dab in the middle of Detroit, which is one of the most densely populated areas in Metro Detroit. And they're known more for their huge Arabic or Yemeni or even Polish population throughout the years, and where English could be a second or third language here, which would be unfamiliar to the people that live there. And then from there, you could take another short drive and be down in Southwest Detroit, which is the home of Mexican Town, where you have a ton of Mexican heritage, culture, and demographics all throughout the entire part of the city. So if you're a person that doesn't enjoy diversity or likes to know where they're going all the time, and then you round it about and then you go around to Detroit, the inner city Detroit, which has one of the highest African American populations in the entire country, then this would explain some serious diversity of neighborhoods and living. And so if that's not something that you're used to, it could definitely be a culture shock for you moving here. Also with that, something to call out about like the different areas, right? So in a lot of cities, you can just say, hey, I'm going downtown, and then people will know exactly what you mean. Well, here, downtown can mean a various things. Of course, Detroit downtown is maybe the most prominent and proper one, right? But we have a ton of other downtowns too, like Birmingham, Royal Oak, Plymouth, Northville. Like all these places have their own downtown that people frequent in high populations. Oh, and can't forget Ferndale either. Lastly, home prices can vary very much, even in the same zip code. So in a lot of different cities, you can say, hey, this location, this area trades in about this amount of dollars. Well, here, that is not the case. So let's take a example like Detroit and Grosse Pointe. So in the 48224 zip code, you can go from having a $50,000 to $100,000 house across Mack Avenue, and then now you're looking at $300,000 to $700,000 houses, all within, literally a stone's throw of a distance. So here it's not as, cut and paste about home values and prices. It's more border driven than location driven. All right, the next one on the list is one that sucks and that I hate for us, but it is what it is. The roads. The roads here suck. There's no real way around it. Our governor has been trying to fight the battle to rebuild our infrastructure and rebuild our roads forever. It doesn't matter which governor, they all try it. And for some reason, it just never really works. So potholes are something that you definitely are going to be accustomed to, especially if you're driving in the inner cities or the more heavily, densely populated areas. The roads just take a beating. I mean, that goes from, assaulting in the winter, or because of how many cars we have on the road going up and down these streets all the time. Also, something else behind this is because all the roads aren't owned by the state, right? So there's over 600 different, municipalities or companies or whoever that owns certain parts of the road. And so maintenance are not all uniform. And so some maintain better than others. So from this place to that place, you're going to get varying conditions of roads. And that leads to, hey, you better keep your head on a swivel when you're driving. And then furthermore, the Detroit roads were built for the boom era in the 1950s of, vehicles. They weren't built for 70 plus years of road usage without major rebuilds, In addition to the roads, you're gonna be seeing construction. So the potholes are one thing, but they're not as bad as they used to be. I'll say that. I give them credit for that. Big Rich, shout out to you. But I will say the constant maintenance of these roads is definitely something that you have to worry about. I mean, even right now, there's a huge stretch of 696 that is very highly populated that we normally use that's going to be cut off for probably, I think it's 2 years or something like that, while they do road construction on it and rebuild it or redo it. And that throws a monkey wrench into your travels, that's for sure. And you can see that all throughout Metro Detroit, where they're always filling in the roads or they're working on the roads. So you got detours, cones and stuff all the time, everywhere, no matter the season. So that's something you definitely will have to take into account. Hey guys, it's Ed Butler. I love making these videos, but there's only one thing I love more, and that's helping you and your family move and relocate to Detroit from all over the U.S. and sometimes to the other country. I've helped countless families make that move, and so whether you're looking to move here next week, next month, or even next year, feel free to reach out. I love to help. My contact information is right here on the screen or down below just in case you missed this pop-up. And I look forward to helping you and your family make the move to Detroit. And since we're on the topic, I'm moving on to my next one, and that's going to be public transit. There's no real public transit here in Metro Detroit. I mean, if you're used to big major cities with subways or light rails, then yeah, we ain't got it. Detroit was built for cars. Detroit is the motor city, and that's what our infrastructure was built to do. So if you're a car guy or a car gal, this could be a place for you for sure. But if you're a person who doesn't own a car, doesn't plan to own a car, or is not all that comfortable with, ride sharing, this might not be the place for you. Detroit has invested in stuff like the Q line and the People Mover, but those projects aren't really feasible for long, serious commutes. They're good to go, from one point to another in a short stretch of period, or a short stretch, speaking of the Q line and the People Mover, but not really a mass solution for moving around the city if you don't have a car. There is a lot of talks with tech companies about mobility and, AI and all types of stuff that are, percolating down here, because Michigan or Detroit is actually becoming kind of an innovation hub for this transportation sector. But none of it involves mass transit. So, that's just something to definitely keep in count of if you're a person that just doesn't want to drive or never learn to drive. Because I found out that unlike here, you don't have to take driver's training in all states, which is kind of wild to me. All right, the next one. It's kind of near and dear to me, of course, because it's all about our reputation. Detroit and Metro Detroit still has a very outdated reputation. It kind of gets on my nerves when people are like, oh, you know what? Detroit's coming back. Like, no, dude, we've been back and we're here and we're growing and we're moving. We got further to go. But it's not like, we're some little underdog story that's just don't have anything and it's, oh, it's cute. You're doing a little bit better. Like, no, dude, Detroit is thriving right now and it's only going to get better. Of course, we got a lot of room to grow, but don't sleep on it. We're definitely punching in our weight class right now. I mean, national media like, the Wall Street Journal, Vice, NYT regularly feature Detroit as a rising, hotspot for innovation, technology, and arts and cultures and food. Don't forget the food. Because we're here, baby, and we're not going nowhere. And all we're doing is growing. But in addition to this, if you're gonna move here and then you go elsewhere, you go back to your home city or you go back to traveling and then you say, oh, where are you from? You get a question, oh, Detroit. And people are like, oh, wow, really? How is that? And you're always gonna get that. And so long as you can deal with that and deal with having to explain away all the misconceptions and be a representative of Detroit every time you go somewhere, then yeah, you'll be all right. But if you're a person that's like, that will bother you or getting put on the spot like that or having to have those conversations, then you might not survive Detroit, because they're definitely gonna happen. I mean, it happens to me all the time. Now for the question of the day. What's your favorite thing about Detroit or Metro Detroit that's not listed here? Go ahead and drop your answers down below, because I want to hear them and it might make a video in the future about something that you drop down in the comments. Also, if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to drop those down below too, or shoot me a DM, text, or call. My information should pop up right here on the screen and it'll be linked down below as well. Look forward to hearing from you. All right. Last but not least, I saved it to the end because it's a huge one and people need to be educated about it. And I want to spend a little bit more time on it. And that's going to be property taxes. Now, Michigan has one of the highest property tax rates in the entire country. Our effective tax rate is about 1.54%. And for perspective, that ranks us top 10 in the nation. And for a comparison perspective, the national average is 99%. California is 75%. And then if you only check out Hawaii, I think it's like sub 50%. Yeah, it's actually 31%, which is crazy low. But housing prices are very, very high. So there's a relationship between housing prices and then the inverse with higher property tax percentages. And so that's the reason why our housing property taxes are a lot higher, but housing values are growing and our property taxes are still there. So it can be a kind of inverse relationship or kind of a tough relationship with having a cheap home, but then also paying higher taxes. So in some cases, it's better off to buy a more expensive home and then have cheaper taxes in certain areas, and then you'll have a lower monthly payment, which is wild. Then if you want to get a little crazy, you look at Detroit's property tax rate, right? Or effective tax rate. And that's going to be between 2.5% to 3%, which is definitely one of the highest in the nation. I mean, that's definitely driven by because Detroit's housing prices have been so low and so undervalued for so long that you had to have the taxes be a little bit higher to kind of get any type of revenue to the city from a property tax standpoint. But now that values have risen, and then some of these, condos and houses, are in the, 3, 4, 500,000 upwards $1 million range, having a very high tax rate could be a very cumbersome burden. Like, for example, you can have a $60,000 house here in Detroit, and your tax bill may be $1,800 a year. But you can also have a $600,000 house, call it in Austin, Texas, and your property tax bill will be around $9,000 a year, right? So it's a small walk, but that's a 10x on the purchase price, but not that big of a walk on property taxes. So that's just something to keep out of. But also, property taxes in Texas aren't cheap either. Just keep that in mind. And to offset this, places like the city of Detroit have what's called a neighborhood enterprise zone. And there's different variations of this program, but one of them is the homestead program. So if you're moving out of state, here to Michigan, you want to buy a house in one of these neighborhood enterprise zones in the city, or just want to buy a house in the city, make sure you check to see if it's in one of those neighborhood enterprise zones and that you can apply for the homestead. And so that your tax bill can be lowered over the next 15 years, so it starts on, year one, and then you have about 15 years runway. And then once, 15 years up, you can reapply and get extended, but it's something good to get on the house. And it can generally lower your taxes maybe 30%. And then on the new build side, they have NEZ where some of these new builds get a runway of 15 years just like that, but the taxes are like, 80% of what they would be. And that's what makes the most sense with these, newer builds or these really high dollar condos. I mean, because these tax bills can be crazy if you don't have a tax abatement on them. And that's just something that the city's ongoing fighting with, trying to figure out, just because we have such a varying degrees of price points inside the city. And something has to change because it doesn't make sense in some aspects, these tax bills. Also, somewhat unique to Michigan or Detroit. I mean, not necessarily completely unique because other cities have it, but some cities don't. And one you're coming from may not. We have what's called a tax cap. So if you buy a home in Detroit, after that initial uncapping, you're going to be capped at 5% of increase in your property taxes every year, no matter what, all the way, as long as you own it, all the way until you sell it. And so that can create somewhat of a, disposition or opposition when some people have held onto their homes for a very long time. And the property values have definitely risen from when they bought their home, let's call it in the 80s, but it hasn't never uncapped. So they're still paying that capped 5% each year, and it never caught up to what the real value is, right? But then when you come from out of state and you go buy that house, they're gonna uncap for you. And they're gonna go right to the market value. And that could be a very big difference because, Bob and Sally bought it in, 1978 and they're paying, $3,000 a year in taxes. But then when you buy that place, it uncaps and now you're paying $10,000 in taxes. That can be a big shocker. And that'll mess up your budget if you're not paying attention or you're not working with someone that has your best interest in mind who's going to tell you that up front. Or they just don't know. So that's definitely something to look out for and to make sure that you're aware of and to factor in when you're shopping or home buying, because it can make a huge difference for sure. Because the last thing you want is to have that tax bill jump up on you and then now you can't afford the house anymore and now you got to sell it. And then now you're like, I hate Detroit because I had to sell my house because it was too expensive. But all in all, these are just a few things that I just thought I would keep it real about and give you so you can make educated decision on if moving to Detroit, or so when moving to Detroit, you can think about these things and know how you're going to have to operate and move if you want to make sure that Detroit is for you. Because you just might not survive here if any of these things bother you or, are going to be a big problem for you. Thanks for watching this video. I invite you to watch any of the other ones. I've got more stuff cooking and percolating just like this. So hit the subscribe button if you want to check more of those out. Like the video, share it with somebody, and I'll catch you on the next one.